We eliminated billions of dollars in taxpayer subsidies to the big banks that were acting as middlemen on the college loan program. And as a consequence of this, we saved tens of billions of dollars that are now making college educations more affordable for millions of more students. To lower the costs of families and businesses, we passed health insurance reform that will finally make coverage affordable and stop insurance companies from jacking up your premiums or refusing to cover you before you're sick because you're sick. To make sure that everybody's participating in our economy, I signed into law legislation that makes sure we've got equal pay for equal work, because we want our women getting paid just like men are getting paid on the workforce. To keep faith with the brave men and women who risk their lives for ours, and to help build the middle class like the greatest generation built itself up. We are increasing access to health care and benefits and education for our veterans and their families. And we're keeping the promise I made when I began campaigning for the presidency. By the end of this month, we'll have removed 100,000 troops from Iraq, and our combat mission will be over. To ensure that a financial crisis like this one doesn't happen again, we passed financial reform that provides new accountability and tough oversight of Wall Street. It's going to stop credit card companies from charging hidden fees or unfair rate hikes. It's going to end the era of Wall Street bailouts once and for all. And these reforms, all these reforms taken together, are going to make America more competitive in the 21st century. They move us forward. And on each of these reforms, we reached out to Democrats and Republicans for ideas and for support. But I have to tell you, in just about every instance, almost every Republican in Congress said no. No on help for small businesses. No on middle-class tax cuts. No on clean energy jobs. No on making college more affordable. No on Wall Street reform. You remember our campaign slogan, yes, we can? This year, their campaign slogan is, no, we can't. It's pretty inspiring, huh? You know, you wake up in the morning and you hear no, that just puts a little pep in your step. Why do they keep on saying no? Well, part of it is that they just can't give up on the bankrupt economic policies that they have been peddling for much of the last decade. I mean, this agenda is pretty straightforward, and I give them credit. You know, they keep on coming back with it. You cut taxes for millionaires and billionaires. You cut rules for special interests. You cut working folks loose to fend for themselves. So if you don't have a job, or you can't afford college, or you don't have health insurance, or you can't get health insurance for your kid, tough luck. You're on your own. Now, you know, the advantage of this economic philosophy is it's simple. The disadvantage of this philosophy is it doesn't work out real well. I mean, think about it. We tried this for 8 years. And here's what it gave us. It gave us the worst economic crisis since the Great Depression. And it took us from record surpluses to record deficits. These guys now, they're all running on, well, Democrats are the spending party. Think about this. We had record surpluses. When I arrived in the White House, I had a $1.3 trillion deficit wrapped in a bow waiting for me. So yes, we had to spend money to get us out of what could have been a depression. So we spent money on high-speed rail, and we spent money on clean energy, and we spent money making sure teachers and cops and firefighters weren't laid off. What did they have to show for the $1.3 trillion deficit that they delivered us? Oh, we got a lot of options here. But it's not a real attractive list. So when these guys get on their high horse about spending, it's like, hold on a second. I'm bringing this up not to relitigate the past. I just don't want to relive the past. You know, it was hard enough. It's been hard enough trying to rescue this economy the first time. I don't want to have to do it a second time. I mean, it'd be one thing if Republicans had, you know, they'd all said to themselves, gosh, you know, what we did really didn't work out. So let's go off and let's meditate a little bit and see where we went wrong, come up with some new ideas, come up with a new philosophy, acknowledge the mistakes that we made, promise to do things differently. If that was their message, you know, that would be plausible. And I would embrace it. I would say, great, you've got new ideas, come on. Let's work together. Let's figure out how we can move the country forward. But that's not what they're saying. One of their leaders was asked, what would he do if they took over Congress again? And he said, I'm quoting here, we're going to pursue the exact same agenda as before Obama took office. The exact same agenda. So basically, what they're really betting on, I mean, their whole campaign strategy is that all of you have come down with a case of amnesia. They are banking on the fact that you'll forget what their agenda did to this country over 8 years. Imagine the economy is a car. And they're driving along, and I don't know what they're doing. They're not paying much attention to the road. Maybe they're on their BlackBerry. I don't know. They're talking on the phone. Something. But they drive the economy into the ditch. And so now me and Bill Nelson, the congressional delegation here, and all of us, we got to put on our boots and we, you know, climb down into the ditch. And it's muddy down there, and hot, bugs. We're pushing, we're shoving, trying to get this car out of the ditch. Republicans, they're standing there watching us, sipping on a Slurpee or something. They're like, we say, you guys want to come down and help push? No, that's okay. Push harder, though. You're not pushing right. If we were pushing, we'd be doing it differently. Finally, after all this work, we get the car back up on level ground. We're ready to move forward. Suddenly, these guys tap us on the shoulder. We turn around. They say, we want the keys back. You can't have the keys back. You don't know how to drive. We don't want to go back into the ditch. I don't know if any of you have thought of this, but you know, when you want your car going forward, what do? You put it into D. When you want to go reverse, what do? Put it into R. We don't want to go backwards, we want to go forwards. And that's why we're going to vote for Alex Sink. We need to go forward. That's what this election is about, moving forward. America always moves forward. If you want to know what will happen if the other party takes over Congress, all you've got to do is take a look at what they've done the last 18 months. On issue after issue, they've sided with special interests over the middle class. They voted to give tax breaks to companies that ship jobs overseas. They voted to give insurance companies the power to deny you coverage if you've had a pre-existing condition. The top Republican on the Energy Committee, the guy who would be in charge of energy policy in this country if they take over, after the oil spill happened, he apologized. Not to the people of Florida. He apologized to BP. Said he was so sorry that the president forced them to put a $20 billion trust fund together so that fishermen and small business owners and hotel owners would be compensated. Called it a shakedown. Called it a Chicago shakedown. That's. Are you serious? On Wall Street reform. I mean, think about this. The worst financial crisis since the Great Depression. And they want to go back to doing the same things. How can that be? How can that be? The economy was almost brought to its knees. And we put together a very sensible, mainstream approach for making sure we wouldn't have taxpayer bailouts, making sure that consumers were protected. We kept on reaching out to them, work with us. Wouldn't do it. Because the special interests in Washington didn't want them to do it. That's what's at stake in this election. If we give them the keys back, they will drive this economy right back into the ditch. And riding shotgun will be every special interest under the sun. And let me be clear about sort of how we're going to move our economy forward. The key to moving this economy forward is going to be the private sector. Government is not going to be the primary driver of job creation in this country. We want businesses to succeed. The free market is the greatest instrument of wealth production in our history. But so if you're a responsible business owner, I want to do everything I can to help you grow and prosper and hire more employees. But I don't think it's anti-business to say we should make sure an oil rig is safe before you start drilling. I don't think it's anti-business to say Wall Street banks should play by the same rules as everybody else. I don't think it's anti-business to say that insurance companies should deny people care just because they get sick. To make sure that we say to insurance companies, you got to treat people fairly. That's not being anti-business. That's just being common sense. We can't go back to an attitude where whatever's good for me is good enough. We got to start asking, what's good for America? What's best for all our businesses? What's best for all our people? What's best for the next generation, not just the next election? How do we move this country forward as one people and as one nation? So, Florida, I know times are tough. And when times are tough, it can be easy to give in to cynicism. It can be easy to give in to fear. Sometimes we set our sights lower. We settle for the status quo. And that's what the other side's counting on in this election. They're not offering new plans. They're not offering new ideas. They're offering cynicism and they're offering fear. They're offering distractions and wedge issues. You know, during the course of the last 18 months, there have been times where I've taken positions that surprised